So, of course, we welcome to this webinar on time to reflect and look at some strategies that will help school owners to forge ahead after the post-coronavirus. And like I said, while we discuss, we have so many issues in Nigeria, so many things, and it's only God that can help us out of them all. Because at this period of time, it would have been expected that, especially for the private schools, to have certain infrastructures in place to go through this period that we don't even know when it's going to end. But we are hoping that every school will take will be proactive in their in taking actions in what they should do to help students out of this. So welcoming everybody. Some people are coming in. For discussants, I have Dr. Mrs. Ireremena Felix Otuaromoa. Otuarimo, yes. She has a PhD in education leadership from the University of Nottingham, and she lives in the US. She's a Nigerian, so having her here is good, because she will be able to give us good strategies on the way forward. And of course, she's had experience here in Nigeria too before she moved on to the US. Then we also have Mrs. Olubumi Oshoba. She's the director and a principal of Kingsfold International School Academy in Lagos. She's the CEO of Vision Education Consult. Then we have Mr. Olorunfemi Babatunde. He's a proposal engineer and IT innovations in education person. He's a co-owner of Q&A app. I know some schools, a lot of schools would have known, been using this app, the Q&A app. We're going to know more about this and see how we can leverage on that for school owners. Today, we are looking at the effects of the coronavirus. And of course, we are focusing on education, on the education sector. And so far, how has it affected Mrs. Olubumi Oshoba, that is currently running a school, and this thing just came in. Nobody ever planned for 2020 to be this way. Nobody ever did that. We never knew this was going to happen, and of course it has happened. So, Mr. Oshoba, so can we go with you? What did you put in place? Did you envisage it? No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
I think I should introduce myself, because it will then sort of let people know what perspective I'm speaking from.
Yes.
I run a private secondary school, fully boarding, in Ikorodu in Lagos. And we follow the British and the Nigerian curriculum. So I prepared my children. We're supposed to start early April, all the British exams. As you know, that was cancelled.
Yeah.
And now we're looking forward to doing the national exam and the West Africa exams. Now, because as a private school, I run what I call a portal, whereby all the children's work, homework are put on there for holidays. So immediately I heard about the shutdown, we were lucky enough, we were able to finish up second term, because when we heard about the shutdown, we reshuffled and took the second term exams, and then we moved on to give at least 2 weeks work for the children, which will be work they will start doing in the third term. So we put that on the portal for every subject, which was a lot. And that was just for 2 weeks, because somehow, even though I knew this virus was bad, I didn't think, I was living in Kukuland, I didn't think it would go on for this long.
Honestly.
So we put 2 weeks work. So with that 2 weeks work we put in place, it meant that for this week, because we were supposed to resume on the 19th, so it meant that this week and next week there was work for children to do. But you know, looking at the target, I think we just have virtual classes. So in the process of getting the management together and talking about virtual classes, there was a memo brought out by the Lagos State government saying third term has not started. We're not allowed to charge for third term, because considering that children would normally have paid the third term fees and would be running the school with the fees. Now I don't have any income. I have teachers. So we now decided, we spoke to the parents, and I told them I was going to charge a minimum, very bare minimum, for children to come online and start working. So it's part of it is in them not forget what they've learned, and wherever you can move forward a bit. But it wasn't third term. It wasn't a third term starting. So because of that, you didn't have so many take-ups. I'm supposed to start that on the 1st of May. I have a population of about 100 children. I only have 11 children who've taken it up. I'm hoping I might still get some more. So that's where I am at.
Dr. Menab, you know the Nigerian environment very well. Yeah. You know what we are all going through. You also know that it's only private schools. It's only private schools that have access to infrastructure that will help their students do online studies, or their teachers teach online. And that means that government school, the students in the government schools will not have this privilege or the opportunity to do this. So please, if you can come in here to help us go through what you think should be possible, or the strategies some school owners should take, so that after this, students will not feel left out in this course. Also knowing that it's going to take a long time for schools to resume.
Well, thank you for inviting me. Very happy to be here, and I've been discussing one-on-one with certain, some educators as to how to help them navigate this situation we've all found ourselves. As unprecedented as it is, as unexpected as it is, you said it. One thing that schools don't do, particularly in Nigeria and in Africa generally, is preparing for the unexpected.
Exactly.
And if there's any lesson we must learn, is that in as much as we are bridging the education gap in Nigeria, that is private schools, a lot of them need to start working on preparing for the unexpected. We've had, very similar situations where we had to stay home due to fuel scarcity, or some kind of shutdown by, strikes and, long-term stay home. So really, I think that by now, I was expecting that quite a number of the private schools should know what they are doing. Well, the category, usually private schools are divided into two main categories: the registered and the unregistered.
Yeah.
And then you have but there's also another category of private schools. You have the high fee paying private schools, low fee paying private schools, and the unregistered mushroom private schools. I call them mushroom because I mean, they take place in uncompleted buildings, they take place in the field, the alimanjaries are in that category, you know, and even though there are some public schools too that, I mean, you know what the public sector is all about.
Yes.
It's inadequate. So,
Yeah.
and private schools have helped all these years to bridge that gap in educating the masses and in education generally.
Yeah.
So, and the way forward for private and even public, the government, individuals, IT companies, everyone, you see there's a move to give. And unfortunately, a lot of them are concentrating on hunger. Keep the people alive first.
Yeah.
So, but while they are looking at that, I mean, I saw on Instagram yesterday, the ARC project has already raised over 20 million naira. And I was like, wow. To feed people, fantastic. Can some of this be geared towards feeding children specifically? Post-pandemic education will need to look seriously into feeding children.
Yeah.
A lot of schools have to look into it. Public, private, government, feeding children is very key, because children cannot learn if they are not well fed.
Okay.
A lot of the problems we're having with children, not inability to learn and inability to concentrate, is also based on this, hunger and, lack of provision generally, and complete neglect. Some of the parents, it's not as if they don't want to do it, but they don't have the means to do it properly. So I would really appreciate if schools begin to look at feeding, because in the UK, in the public sector, we have some schools that are on permanent feeding program for children.
Okay.
And it has helped to improve the standard of education and of learning, improved their learning ability.
Yeah.
And then secondly, a lot of schools right now should look into reducing fees.
Okay.
It's hard enough already. Don't ask me to bring fees. Some people have lost their jobs.
Yeah.
Government should be looking into supporting private schools. Now we need to place that demand on government. I saw just a couple of minutes ago before I joined in on LinkedIn, Professor Ndubisi Ekekwe. Professor Ndubisi Ekekwe has been invited to join the Federal University of Tech of Minna. And then, because he's now an advisory board member of the World Bank International, I think it's called the Step B project. And this Step B project is worth 450 million naira.
Wow.
And I just posted a question to him. How can private schools leverage on this? How can private schools, particularly the low-fee private schools, the high-fee private schools don't have any problem.
Yeah.
They are up and running with their schools. They've not stopped schooling, and a lot of the parents can afford internet, a lot of the parents can afford electricity 24/7. A lot of them they're fantastic. They're doing very well. They're coping with the situation. No problem. I mean, the last experience I had before I left Nigeria was I think it was caused by there was a shutdown because there was a strike going on because of the increase of gas, the increase of fuel. And a lot of them just went on Edmodo. Edmodo is an educational platform where in the US here, it's a US company, and it was free and it's still free. And a lot of them, in fact, it was very fantastic. They didn't have any problems. Now, the low fee paying schools, some of them packaged work enough for the children. They made photocopies, a whole file, and parents could pick up or they could send emails, which some of them are already doing.
Okay. Yeah.
So that's a way forward, sending workload by email to parents. Now, the question is now, what about the public school children? I hear the government is taking care of them, which they have always done through, it's virtually, is also virtual, I mean,
Yeah.
through the radio, and some of them, radio in particular. If you look at television, you will still require electricity.
Yeah.
And a lot of the states are out of electricity as we talk. But a lot of particularly in Lagos State, I know of Lagos State, they've been using the radio
Yes.
communicate their
Teach.
subjects and teach their subjects, which don't need electricity for. I mean, buy a little small radio with batteries. All you just need is keep reloading the batteries. I mean, until it runs out. Fantastic. But there are still some schools, as good as they are, the parents in those schools, they moved from the public because the public education was not good enough to meet their little needs and their little income. So they could, enroll their children in some of these low fee paying schools. So my concern really is for the low fee paying schools. They have some form of IT in their schools. Some parents have donated laptops or PCs to them, but electricity is still a challenge. Most of these parents cannot afford to keep electricity for too long. Some of them have lost their jobs. How can we help these ones? That's why I'm advocating for reduction in fees. Reduction in fees. And then 2, reduce the number of school days. Reduce the number of school days. If you reduce your fees, then you should reduce the number of the number of days that the children are in school. And bet you children will love it. For the lower primary and the nursery, they should not do more than 2-3 days. While the other, secondary, not more than 3-4 days. Take it, because Saturday is still there. So they have Friday, Saturday, Sunday to make up for whatever they did not do from Monday to Thursday. Another thing I'm looking at is how can we lobby IT companies? Set up school hubs. That's what the UK did. So they set up school hubs where the successful schools are helping and partnering, collaboration. I'm talking about collaboration now. Schools need to collaborate. Both they collaborate with high fee paying schools, collaborate with successful schools, collaborate with IT companies, collaborate with government. There has to be a collaboration right now, because collaboration has helped to increase the standard of school and education and learning in the UK, in the US, in Finland, in all over right now. It's a lot of collaboration. How can we all come together? For instance, the $450 million
dollars.
$450 million that the World Bank has for Project Step B. How can we leverage on that?
Wow.
How can schools and IT companies come together? Let's put all our resources together. Let's put up a proposal. That's another thing we lack. That is one thing I'm developing myself on, writing donor proposals. Proposals that can be sent to World Bank, sent to UNESCO, sent to UNICEF, sent to DFID, to harness these resources to help the low fee paying schools, because they are the stopgap between, in fact, a lot of them, if they do not come together and work together right now and prepare to, go into post-pandemic education life in Nigeria, a lot of them will shut down. Most of the caliber right now, like Olakule Shoriyan, one of my mentors and a guru in business consulting, is saying already that the middle class will be completely eroded. And if the middle class, because of the way things are going, look at the stock market, everything is down. Even banks are dropping staff right now. They're dropping staff. Already, people have lost their jobs in the US. The government is giving a stimulus package to small businesses. The government in Nigeria should think of something like that. The banks should think of, canceling some of the loans that some of these low fee paying schools already have. Some of them have bus loans, some of them have building loans. They should cancel them. All those things, there should be loan forgiveness right now. There should be loan forgiveness right now. The same thing to parents who are owing. There should be fee forgiveness. Forgive them for the past fees they've not paid. If you are trying to get the past fees that they've not paid, they're just going to move. You will find a lot of cross migration from private schools now to the public schools because they're free. Whatever way. So how can you keep the little, at least maximum of 50% of your school? Is by collaboration. We need to be talking a lot about collaboration. Collaboration, like I said, what will it do? Now, collaboration with other schools in your community is the way forward. And there has to be a lot of commitments. And what are these areas of collaboration? For instance, the successful schools will help the struggling schools to organize and execute specific professional development for teachers, virtual learning. So, for instance, if the schools around Yabatech, the schools around universities, the schools around Unilag, the schools around University of Abuja, how can University of Abuja help some of these schools by training their teachers in specific subjects? How can they guide them in making the right decisions? How can they, send in professionals, different professionals in different professions, their staff? I mean, Virgin has been good in doing that. Virgin Group, from time to time, they have their corporate social responsibility group, and these are all staff members. They take their holiday, half of their holiday, or they schedule a time where they all go into a community and they do something major, build, repair, purchase things, resources. How can we leverage on lobbying corporate groups right now to help out? Because if we are not doing this kind of thing, collaboration is the way forward. The world has been doing the Western world has been doing that. Africa needs to come in. Africa needs to pick up the slack on the issue of collaboration. Another thing that they can help them to do is by deploying other, leading professionals to offer advice, to guide them. They can set up post-pandemic communities.
Okay.
Post-pandemic school hubs. Like I said, within the locality, how many schools are there? How can the IT company say, look, give me, if you can put yourselves together, and they have an association, the Private School Association.
Yeah, they do. Yes.
This is the time for private school associations to get their acts together and say, look, how can we help our members? Okay, we want to partner with Femi's company. We want to partner with, there was another tech company I saw that was online. We want to partner with these tech companies. And you agree as to the modalities. So you put up you put up a plan as to what are the specific objectives. Now, what are going to be your specific objectives? Let me go through the specific objectives that you can have. And at the end of the day, you develop an MOU. Now, you want to look at the aims. What are your aims? What are the aims of this collaboration? Who will be the project leader of this collaboration? What are the specific activities? You are looking at the year groups. You are looking at subject partnership. You are looking at year group partnership. What measures will be used to monitor the performance of this collaboration? How would you measure the outcomes and the impact of this collaboration? How would you evaluate? And then at the end of the day, you come up with an MOU, a memorandum of understanding that this is what we have planned to do. And you will find out at the end of the day, this MOU will guide you as to, I know that right now some companies are doing Adopt a School in Lagos, generally. I know of Lagos. And how can you work with NGOs to lobby government, to lobby, like World Bank, for instance, this Mr. What's his name now? Mr. Ndubuisi Ekwekwe. How can the private schools association get in contact with him, network him? How can we leverage on these 450,000, even the IT companies? How can we leverage? How can we come together and work together?
Yeah.
Right now, I know that a lot of people are profiting from what is going on.
Exactly.
But at the end of the day, profiting, if your focus is just on profiting, you will lose out.
Yeah.
Because once people know that all you're after is to make profit, they're just going to dump you.
Yeah.
Because everyone is looking at partnering for the sake of maintaining the standard, at least average standard of education. And of course, they can look into teaching. They can look into, even right now in the UK. Do you know that schools are sharing lesson plans just to take the load off teachers?
Yeah.
So the successful schools give out their lesson plans to the struggling schools. That's something to adopt. So how can successful schools or high fee paying schools, partner with the low fee paying schools in their community and say, you know what? We will give you access to what we are doing. We can give your teachers free training. We can ask your teachers to log into a platform that can, that can help them to communicate with or teach their children in that particular subject. So these are some of the ideas that I have. And of course, there are a lot of things that they need to do in terms of post-pandemic education. I mean, I had a chat with some professors over the weekend that, look, what can we do? And a lot of us agree that, one, post-pandemic education is not going to be the same. It's not going to be business as usual.
Yes.
Face-to-face education is taking a back seat.
Exactly. So it's like we are entering into a new era altogether of learning and
teaching. So if people are expecting a complete face-to-face and for things to go back to normal,
no, it's not going to be possible.
Then you are setting up yourself for disaster.
Exactly.
So you're setting up yourself for a complete shutdown.
What will be advisable now is for schools to send their teachers during this lockdown period to actually take a lot of online trainings on how to teach and train students online, because it's a different ballgame.
Completely different.
Teaching and online teaching is a different ballgame, because you actually have to know how to be sure that the students to be sure that the students are actually learning and gaining from what you're teaching them, because you know it's different from face to face, where you can see their body language, where you can see them, the way they react, their body language and all that, and be able
Yeah.
to shut them down and all that and all that. So they should actually go into learning on training on managing these students online.
Yeah.
Okay.
And how to schedule. You need to train parents as well on how to schedule their time, because you cannot take play out of you. You know, children right now, I mean, in Nigeria, you still have children who will step out. Children will still step out of the house.
Yeah.
You need to do that. You need to train parents as to how to schedule the time during the day for those children to study, take a break, study, take a break, that's the end of it for the day. For instance, in post-pandemic education system, one of the things I'm suggesting is that IT companies, the big IT companies, to collaborate and set up and use their call centers.
Okay.
Make their call centers available for teachers.
Okay.
Who can go there and link up, even make it available for students, make it available for university students to use.
Yeah. So I'm even also thinking that IT companies, or especially those who provide things like the laptops and all that and internet, should even have centers where students can actually go, for those students who do not have access to this, to actually go in those centers and study, you know, and connect with their schools or with the teachers, you know, and then continue their studies. But the problem here now is the lockdown, because of the social distancing and all that. It may not actually be workable for now for IT companies to set up.
The one for IT is post-pandemic, after the pandemic, long after.
Okay, after the pandemic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, after the pandemic.
Okay.
But right now, so Mr. Femi should tell us how we can go about that right now at a nothing.
Yes.
Little or nothing. At no fee. Little or nothing.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Mena. We've gotten a lot from that, a lot of strategies, and I'm sure that as many school owners that are listening will run with this now, and it's also going to help us post-pandemic. So I want to call in Femi, Mr. Femi, to come in and take us through how schools can benefit from the IT services you have for the schools. Mr. Femi.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Mr. Femi is a co-owner of Q&A app. Yes, I know that a lot of schools are using this app, and I'm sure some of them are listening to you. So please, can you help us go through how school owners, teachers, even students and parents can leverage on your services to help these students out of these problems we have post-pandemic?
All right, thank you very much. Let me quickly share my slide.
Okay.
When it comes up, please let me know on your screen.
Okay, once it's up, okay.
Yes. Okay, so I'm running an abridged version of the slide because of time.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about Q&A app, but as well like to mention other tools that are available for this period for learning management.
Okay.
Now we have Google Classroom, we have Blackboard, we have Edmodo, we have Moodle, we have Teachable. Now there's a homegrown solution called Virtual Classroom. I'm passionate about customized solutions built by Nigerians for Nigerians, and
good. That's very good.
I always recommend them first before a foreign solution, because they can always be customized to your needs, and it's more like promoting our own product. So Virtual Classroom here is a Nigerian built learning management system. Now Q&A app is a mobile Android app for distributing content in PDF, video, and audio formats. if your content falls between entrepreneurship, educational, career, and business. So how that fits for this time for senior secondary is that it's a marketplace. So every content producer can put content on the app for free or at a fee. So if for example we have a school that have video, audio, and PDF content, for example, WAEC past question, NECO past questions and answer, GC past question and JAM, they are available for free on Q&A app. Then we have an educational consulting firm that provided videos for all senior secondary school subjects at a fee though. So what they've done is to provide video content for all the subjects in senior secondary school and provide it as a playlist. So if you want to, for example, you are in SS3 and you want to pay to access all the videos for SS3 mathematics, you pay a fee. But like Doctor has mentioned, I think the way forward and what we should do is to collaborate.
Yep.
For example, if we have a government institution or a private institution come up to say that, okay, we are going to pay for X subjects for X number of students, and we have another company come to say, okay, we are going to provide internet accessibility and connectivity to X number of students.
Yeah.
And we have another one come up to say that we're going to provide devices at a very subsidized rate to parents. So,
yeah.
But I'm afraid that if nobody champions this course in Nigeria, as we know how we run things in the country, then it's going to be really difficult because a lot of people are already posturing for profit. And that is not what we should be looking at this time. So I wouldn't know how that will run, particularly so that I'm hearing that there is a private school body. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a private school. Yeah. There's
very strong.
NAPS. We have NAPS.
Very strong. Oh,
NAPS is very strong. Yes.
We have NAPS.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, we have NAPS. That's the largest one all over the country. The NAPS.
Yeah.
All private school association, all the private school and proprietors.
So I mean, if you get in touch, is to network the chairman or the president of that group on chapter basis and at national level.
Maybe after this, I can get you the chairman's name and the number. You can talk with him.
Oh, that would be great. I appreciate that. So I noted actionable steps that I think schools can take to implement e-learning in their schools. I think one of the first things to do is to decide on the technology and the mode of content delivery. Face-to-face classroom is different from online delivery. The way you plan to deliver your content is totally different because the the teachers now need to take a facilitation role. So it's not about just talking and talking. You have to plan to assess the students. You want to give them group works to do. So the content, the delivery is totally different. So there's a need to decide on the technology and mode of delivery. Then, of course, you've talked about parents and teachers, even school owners. They need to be trained. So, and like Doctor has already mentioned, the big schools also who are already because some of these big schools did not even face any problem this time. They just transited into.
They just continue. They just continue.
Yes, so nothing stopped for some of them.
Yeah.
So we hope we can get some of them to share their resources and training with the smaller schools. So
they will be glad to. That's one thing that I know. Okay, one of the groups that we can also leverage on is called COBIS.
COBIS, okay.
COBIS group. They are the British curriculum user schools.
Schools, okay.
They are the British schools, yes, in Nigeria, and they are the American schools. So they all have a group called COBIS. If you can leverage on that as well, I'm very sure they are very open to share their ideas, and they will be willing to help as much as they can.
Okay, so I think it's important that teachers are trained, they design and create course content. Then with students, particularly now that a lot of discipline is required to make the best out of online learning. And I know that a lot of parents will be particular about how safe it is for their children to use the internet. Prior to the pandemic, there was the phones, and people that argued in support of it is that students in secondary school should not have mobile phones.
Phones, yes.
I don't believe in that.
No, let me
I disagree as well.
Let me shock you, Femi. That was my alma mater.
Really?
Yes.
That's interesting to do.
Yes.
What university was that?
No, it's secondary school.
It's a secondary school. I think
What secondary school was that?
Correct.
Yes, FGC.
Okay.
Yes. So the argument
So
was
now,
but now it's now an irony because everybody is now going to actually engage the phones or laptops for studies.
yes,
I mean, apart from that, you can track what your
Yes.
child is doing on the phone, and you can block.
okay.
You can block certain sites from them. You take their phones and they're just like, you cannot go on, you lock it completely.
True.
Victor.
The same way you do parental control on your TV, you do parental control on the phones.
That's true.
Yeah,
So there's a lot of reorientation that needs to be done, particularly so that this instance is a federal government college. So how many of our federal government colleges have e-libraries that students
Exactly.
can use?
That's where the government needs to come in. We need to put pressure on the government.
On the government, yes.
Yes.
So stopgap solution that I'm proposing is use of Zoom, Google Classroom, Q&A app, Edmodo. I think these are some of the platforms that can be leveraged.
Hello.
And then as a medium and long-term approach, because I believe that we're not just talking about the now. As a medium and long-term approach, I think it's important that schools now have school management system as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that parents can log in to see the performance of their children, even for the test, the continuous assessment test. Let them see what is happening. Let schools be able to use analytics to know what is happening across the performance of students across the school. So I think it's important to deploy school management system in addition to the learning management system. Then also as a long-term approach, the doctor has also said that for the smaller schools, the big schools, some of them have recording studios where teachers record content for online platforms.
Yeah.
So I think if there's a body that can identify these schools that have this facility and engage them on how they can make it available or even share their own content.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what Dr. Mena was talking about. Sharing
Educare magazine.
I'm not a
Someone is trying to ask a question.
Yeah.
Okay. Can you ask your question? Yes.
I invited somebody to join us who is relevant to this conversation.
Okay.
It's in your waiting room.
Sometimes
the
network is not the system.
Okay. We'll invite him.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, we invite him. So sorry, who's online now? Is it Mr. Shegun?
Yeah, Mr. Shegun.
Okay, he's waiting to be admitted into the call.
Just admit him, please.
Okay, thank you. We'll do that. Okay.
Okay, can I continue? Can I continue?
Yeah, continue, Shegun. Continue, Mr. Femi.
Okay, so as a long-term approach, I think it's also important for schools to have in-house support teams because I know some schools don't have IT personnel. Then it's also important that schools have e-library facility where students can carry out research. And going forward, all schools should endeavor to assess, maybe as continuous assessment, to assess students by computer-based tests. Then post-COVID-19 suggestions.
She's waiting to be.
Because blended learning is.
Admit.
Hello? Yeah, I know. Sorry.
Someone needs to be admitted.
Yes, I know. Yeah. Continue, Femi.
Okay, so post-COVID-19 recommendations that I'm proposing. Blended learning is a blend of face-to-face conversation and teaching and learning management system. So it has to be a gradual thing. The students, the teachers have to be introduced to learning management in phases. So I'm proposing that going forward, after the post-COVID-19 era, assignments should be administered to students by learning management system platforms. Then I think it's important for schools to create a course for students on how they can support their children to learn. Like the doctor already said, there needs to be a way that is learning and playing and also doing the assignments and all of it. So it's important for schools to also create a course on how they can maximize their stake.
Come on.
Then it's also important that vocational training can be introduced by learning management systems. The language classes can also be introduced by learning management systems. Then to also encourage parents and teachers to embrace online teaching, I think it's important that the platform like Zoom meetings should be introduced, where parents can have meetings with teachers and the school proprietor and administrators by Zoom. And even some of the teachers' meetings should be conducted over Zoom. I think it's important.
Yeah. Someone has a good, when you're done, someone on the chat, I think has a contribution on homeschooling.
Okay.
I think we should talk about that as well.
Okay, great. So I noted that time, positive energy, patience, and willingness to learn factors for creating and administering a learning management system. So for a lot of schools, it's going to be a learning curve. So it's important to know that you're going to need time and you need to be patient with your teachers, with yourself, with your parents, and even with the students.
Yeah.
So I also feel there's a bright side to it because this is the pandemic, everybody is not happy, was not planned for, but are there opportunities in this for all of us? I think the opportunities for the big organization, for example, to step up their game in their social corporate responsibilities. I also think that schools can look out of the box to create content for adult classes. Maybe for students who are preparing for WAEC and NECO, maybe some people who really cannot read and write very well, maybe entrepreneurship classes, vocational classes. So you can create content for people who are not particularly your students that they can enroll for and pay for. I think it's a way that schools can generate additional revenue. Then summer classes, for example, not all students want to participate in the face-to-face summer classes. I think schools can also leverage on this to provide summer classes to students particularly registered in their schools, and even for some of their students that will not be available for the face-to-face summer classes. So to conclude, I said adopting blended learning should not be left to choice. I think it's something every forward-looking institution must make a priority. And as the citadel of learning, I think we should not be found wanting where we talk about educational technology. So we should lead it, because the way it is now for us in Nigeria, I think the citadel of learning, we are taking the back seat, and it's not good enough, particularly so almost all of our universities. I wouldn't be able to speak of the private university. The public university, 90% of them are not adopting any form of learning management system. So I
know that LASU is training the senior management staff right now on virtual learning.
Okay, fine.
So
Educare, thank you for the great work you are doing, and I think you have a lot of work to do going forward also to engage private institutions and government and all relevant stakeholders. So thank you very much, and I will be available in my own way to support in any way that you know that I can support.
I would like to suggest that Educare, do you have a physical magazine? Do you have an online platform?
Yeah, we have. We do.
Okay, if you have an online platform, put together all the suggestions we have contributed on your platform, on your social media platform, as you know, and on a continuous basis. And I think you need to do another webinar where you have all these You invite corporate bodies, invite the NAPS executive, invite the COBI's executives, invite some successful schools, private schools, and then try and invite maybe the Commissioner for Education, you know, something virtually, so that they can. There's so much information out there that people are not taking advantage of. And we are in the information age. If you cannot claim ignorance anymore, and Nigeria cannot claim that, oh, things are not happening. No, we are without excuse at this time. We are completely without excuse. We need to actually get our acts together and getting as many people on the discussion platform right now. Government, I know they're discussing a lot, and they know how to hold meetings. A lot of them are now holding virtual meetings. So it's not new to them. It's not new to them. So even as we're holding meetings, we need to practicalize these things. So your next meeting should be talking about bringing in all these, you know, groups and all these what's it called? All the groups, all the NAPS, NAPS executives, COBI's executives, government, education executives on a platform, on a discussion platform, so that both the government, both we have both the public and the private, and we can get them to collaborate. Collaboration is the way forward.
There's a question from somebody. He's asking, he's saying that it's good, all you've said is fine. It's very fine. That the software, this software, this application, asking if it's free. Is it free? How can they? Yes, the application is free.
Yes, it's free to use, yes.
Okay. Mr. Akinfenyiwa Damilola, the application is actually free. Mr. Fen is confirming that it's free. So it's free.
It's free. It's free for a school to put their content on it. But if the school wants to put a price on it, then we, the app developers, share revenue with the content owners. But if you're providing your content for free, then it's totally free. Okay.
Mr. Akinfenyiwa Damilola, I hope you got that. That is free.
Mr. Akinfenyiwa, one of the chats he has here is that he has a contact and he has a group of proprietors on a WhatsApp group, and he also works with Latana Publishers.
Yes.
And with Sterling Bank. So we can leverage on all these, you know, groups and people on the next webinar.
Okay. All right, we have not been able to get Mrs. Oshoba. We've not been able to get Mrs. Oshoba, but we could also still continue the conversation until she gets in. She's having problems in signing on getting back to the platform. Of course, we had her earlier on, but I don't know what happened, but we're trying to fix her up, and so that we can continue the conversation. And then we're also trying to let people, some people have questions and which they want to ask concerning this program and the post-pandemic strategies we're trying to look at. If Dr. Mena, please, can we have the name of the man for this Step B project for the $450 million?
For the World Bank.
For the World Bank project. Yes.
His name is Mr. He's on my LinkedIn group. He's on my LinkedIn network.
Okay.
Mr. Ndubisi Ekekwe.
Ndubisi Ekekwe.
Ndubisi Ekekwe.
Okay.
We can also invite him. I can send him an invite on the next webinar, and he can tell us how we can
how private schools can be part of this. How private schools can be part of this.
Yes.
Now, okay. Now we see that the privileged students are basically private students.
That's how it has always been, my dear.
Yes. Now, what? And I know that 80% of our students in Nigeria are they attend the public schools. So, what advice? Because some parents online here may also be parents of students in public schools. What is, apart from the television? I know I watch Wazobia. They do some courses online, television also, and on radio. What advice will you give to parents whose students are in public schools, and also probably to the Commissioner of Education or Minister of Education in Nigeria, Mrs. Mena, Dr. Mena? Do I need to pull my child from the public school to private school?
My dear, the cross migration we're going to have is from low fee paying private schools to public schools. Because if I've lost my job, how am I going to pay for the fees in a low fee paying private school? Mm-hmm. So there's going to be a major migration. So it's really the government that needs to get our acts together. The government needs to get their acts together as to, for instance, in most of the public schools, as at 2015, still had over 200 in a class.
Yeah. No, as at 2015 is a long
exactly.
time. As at today.
I'm looking at that now now.
Yeah, for example, in my school, in my alma mater, they have over 150 in a class.
In a class?
Yes.
So if even now they have 150, it's going to be double. If I have lost my job and I still want my child to go to school.
Yeah.
It's public school. I'm going to be looking for the next available public school. I mean, I remember recently, I think it was last year, one of the churches built, actually my church, built a school for the Aja community. Okay. Because there were just about 2 or 3 public schools, and we had to set up this education support scheme to pay the fees of members who were less privileged, and they were attending. Some of them were not even going to school anymore because they didn't want them in the public school, and they could not afford to pay the fees in the low fee paying schools. So visiting some of those schools, I know that definitely some of those, there's going to be a cross migration. So the plan was like the local government give us land, and they gave the church land, and the church built a school for them with over 50 classrooms. That is the kind of projects you are going to see coming up. So now faith organizations need to step up their games as well. So it's not going to be, a lot of the low fee paying schools are going to shut down if they do not collaborate. They're going to be swallowed up by the high fee paying schools, and then the public school. So really the government, homeschooling is another thing that a lot of parents are going to be doing. So we are going to have a lot of home tutors. Some teachers will a lot of the teachers from those low fee paying schools will become home tutors. We become home tutors. Yeah. Because homeschooling is actually better for some students. Some students are going to find out from now that virtual learning is actually good for them. And they're going to be pursuing higher education by virtual learning. Yeah. So my advice for parents is sit down, have a discussion as a couple and as a family. What is the way forward? And minimum number of children in Nigeria is 4. If they're all going to school at different levels, you might want to say to the one in the university or the one in the polytechnic, you need to continue online because you're going to school. Even right now, there's a discussion on how safe is it going to be for children to return back to school.
Exactly.
How safe is that?
Yeah.
many people are not taking the test. Fear is enough to make you not take the test.
Yeah.
Some are going to, and then those are also issues schools need to put in place. Post-pandemic classroom, what is it going to look like? So there will be the discussion of, now we need to now have platforms like the virtual classroom that Femi was talking about.
Yeah.
How can I leverage on, if my wife can stay home, if I still have a job as a husband, or I still have a job as a wife, then somebody needs to be the stay home. So we're going to have stay home moms or stay home dads. Now the choice will be, okay, since I am staying home, I don't have a job right now, and then a lot of online jobs are going to also be coming up, because then they can pay less.
Yeah.
We need someone to do this, and then there's going to be so many online jobs. So with all these short-term online jobs, a lot of people are going to be taking advantage of that.
Yeah.
Either the mom or the dad, whoever does not, or both of them. Then they can concentrate on homeschooling their children. So we need homeschooling virtual platforms as well to be running.
Yeah.
So some children will register. So parents should start advocating for 50% fees, in terms of, I can just, buy that's what is happening right now in the US. They register on the platform, on the homeschooling platform. They register online. They register their students online. So they're learning from home. Also, but in Nigeria, what I see happening is that home tutors, I don't know this subject, particularly maths and science, and English, maths, science. Those teachers are going to be hotcakes post-pandemic. So they also need to be trained as to, you're going into a home, but parents have to be sure that these home tutors are tested negative. So health reports, they need to get, every staff right now will be requested already. Medical report is requested when you're taking up a job. So schools need to update their medical records of all their staff. Parents also need to update the medical records of their children. The government does not do any medical tests. Now they will be doing it. Now they're going to be requesting for it.
I don't know why this laptop is hanging like this.
Also, what will the post-pandemic furniture look like? What will the post-pandemic furniture look like?
Yeah.
Are we going to still be the same thing? No. If you had a classroom where you had 3 children squeezing on a desk bench, what is it going to look like? Maybe 2, maybe 1.
Yeah.
Definitely the high-fee paying schools, they're already sorting that out. You will need to get, make sure each classroom has hand sanitizers. The teacher, how often can the teacher use a face mask? Coming into the school, people right now, everywhere, the stores in the US, everywhere, all over the world, it is now compulsory for you to use a face mask.
Exactly. They're making that compulsory.
And it's not going to go away in a hurry. Face mask making and, different innovations are going on right now, because it has come to stay for a while.
Yeah.
Because of the level of infection.
Yeah.
So these are things that parents need to start thinking about. Do I want to send my child to school, even if they open in the next 2-3 months?
Yeah.
Or even at the end of the year? Is it safe? So homeschooling and home tutors in Nigeria are going to be selling like hot cake. Government needs to get our acts together. What are we going to do to curtail the spread and the death? Because even children as young as 4 years old are contacting this disease. It's scary 4-year, somebody sent us a video of a 4-year-old struggling for his life. Babies, newborn babies are contacting it.
Don't delete anything. I don't think my phone will take it. Oh,
So
terrible.
those are my suggestions for now. We need to lobby the government. We need to put pressure on the government to put up a policy that can help, and then another thing is we need to really rethink the way learning is put, even the content. There's too much workload.
Exactly. Too many courses,
There's
too many
too much
subjects.
workload.
Exactly.
And it's all because of standardized tests. There's too much workload. Like Femi was, during his presentation, he made something, a valid point. How can you incorporate research learning? Assignments that are research-based,
Yeah.
not necessarily research from the internet,
Internet.
but
Exactly.
research from what they do. Research from what they do.
Yeah.
How long will it take you to walk from your how many feet? For instance, in maths, how many feet and how many feet does it take from your bedroom to the kitchen?
Exactly.
Measure it.
The bathroom, yes.
To the bathroom. How long does it take you? Their teaching time. You want them to record all their activities in a day on a sheet and send it to you in art form. They draw it themselves. Make it fun. If learning online is not fun, I can bet you all they do is
You've lost it.
you've lost it.
You've
One
lost
of the in Florida right now, the online most of their students are online. They are all online. Even before pre-pandemic,
Yeah.
majority of them are online. Now, one of the things that the teacher does is very interactive. Very interactive. You find them drawing things online, like Femi was showing us now. We need to learn. I'm just telling myself now, I need to learn how to do the presentation online as well, take it a step further, and all that and all that. Of course, I know a bit of it, but how can I, even as an educator, I do not stop learning. What am I advocating for? Lifelong learning.
Learning. Yeah.
Learning through play. Some of them, we need to develop local content on games.
Yeah. Role plays.
Exactly. How these children can use games to learn, because it attracts a lot of those students back to do their work because they know there's a game. Either at the beginning, in the middle, or at the end, there's a game. And they are learning from this. As they are playing the game, they are learning. Game in science, math games, that are content specific.
And they'll be looking forward to each day.
I think those are things that Femi should be looking into developing.
Yeah.
Content developers that are local. For instance, the 10-10. You remember the game that we played?
Yes, 10-10. Yes, I remember that you clapped.
And they're leaping. Somebody can develop something in that area, and the child would actually put it on the floor. Draw something outside your house, do it, and then tell us how many steps you took. How did you do it? Something like that. Something that the children can relate with. Going to the supermarket, what would you buy? And then they go on a virtual tour of what do they call it now? One of the big supermarkets. What's their name? Obano. They have to make those kind of contents available. ShopRite. Yeah. Even what's it called? Can you imagine? Even museums are going virtual.
Oh, yeah. Wow.
Museums are going virtual. Wow. Of course, restaurants are virtual. All restaurants are virtual. You place your order.
Yes.
So how can we now develop content, local content in these areas? How can we develop games in this, within this, local content? What do we have? If you're going to be, then you can have the students interact with one another. Put them in groups in virtual learning. Put them in groups as they're learning. And then how many, you can even plot the graph, the geographical location of your students. How many students are in Surulere? How many of them are, even within Aja, how many of them are in Ibrahim Adesoya Estate? How many of them are in Crown Estate? How many of them are in BGC? How many of them are in Ado Road?
And all that.
And then say to them, okay, how can you connect yourself within your local community and do this research work? How many people were infected? Or how many people did you hear were infected? How did you feel? Educating the children even about this pandemic is very important. Educating parents. Some parents, they don't even want to hear about what is happening because of their emotional instability. How do you help them?
So, Doctor, I have a question for you.
Okay, yes. Your question, please.
Yes, you talked about parents asking the schools to give 50% on fees they are paying. So, what's your take on the teachers? Should they pay complete salaries to teachers? Should they cut salaries? How do you think school owners can manage that in terms of keeping their employees? And particularly the non-teaching staff, how do you think that the school owners can manage to pay them or to still keep them in their employment?
First of all, if you're reducing, there was a time, I'll tell you my first-hand experience.
Okay.
Now, I was managing a school in one of the top areas in Lagos. Okay. And but unfortunately, the road became so bad.
Okay.
We wrote to the government severally. We wrote to the companies around us. In fact, some companies moved out of that area, that particular area, just because of the bad road.
Okay.
We developed a strategy where we could pick up children from a point, and then all of a sudden, one of the estates, the only road that was good, linking us to be able to pick up these children, was also blocked. Oh my God. It was a terrible situation. We had a meeting. You have to engage your staff. Some of them have fantastic ideas.
Yeah.
Engage your staff.
I think
engage your parents virtually. Send them constant information of what is going on. Encourage them. So even as you are dropping fees, staff already know. Some of them will work with you if you engage them. If you have not been engaging them, this is the best time to, particularly the best hands, because as we're talking, some of them are already fishing for other schools, knowing that
exactly I was coming to that.
Yes, some of them are already planning on dropping you because they know that you may not be able to pay them. Now, what did we do? When I engaged my staff, I said, look, how many of you can weather the storm with us? Because if you must go, you must go. I always say to staff, don't feel obligated to stay if you must go. This is a trying time. Can you stay with us? The same thing I said to parents. This is a trying time. Can you stay with us? We lost over 50% of our students.
Wow.
I had the challenge, but because I had a backup, I had always been a saving head of school. I believe in saving for the unexpected.
Wow.
So I told them, I said, I can still pay for this term. But the reality is that by the end of this term and for the new term to come, we will lose students. I had to face that hard reality. How many of you can commit to staying? All my staff stayed except one that was relocating.
Okay.
Why did they stay? Because I've always engaged with them.
Okay.
I took a salary cut first of all. Immediately the issue started, I took a 50% salary cut. Immediately they saw that, they knew that they needed to accept the salary cut. So what other strategy can we do to help them? While we are cutting salaries, we started to pick up staff so that they did not have issues with transportation.
Okay.
We started to allow them to bring their children, their younger children, to school for free.
Wow. Wow.
We picked up their health insurance. We gave them health insurance for them, just them. We couldn't afford to do it, extend it to the family. And we trained them like no man's business. We paid for their training. We made sure we got people to come in, even from Ireland, from everywhere we knew that I knew I could contact for little or nothing. So those are some of the strategies some of the schools need to look at. The school owner, he engaged with his staff and said to them, we need to get 2 new buses. I don't have any other means than to use your salaries. How can you, will you agree for us to do this thing? We will pay you on group, so he staggered the payments of staff. So they all agreed, the entire staff agreed that for him to come to us means that we have a stake in this school. When staff see that you have you are including them in your decision making, they will work with you. But I know today you have some staff that it is the highest bidder takes it all. Some are already thinking of how to find their way. Let people go. You don't need the extra emotional baggage. You have to be willing to let people go. You can even give them that option. Please get alternative jobs. You can also work with them in terms of after school, virtual after school, and let them take the pay. That was another thing that I did. I allowed them share the extra money for the extra time that we charge parents for keeping children beyond schooling hours. So all that money, they took it together and they shared it by themselves. I did not get involved in it. I said, just make sure the children are well taken care of. So this guy also got his 2 buses, staggered their payments in groups. And then another thing that they did was that they put working in shifts. That's one of the things I did as well. We started to work in shifts. So some will come in the morning as early as 6 a.m. and they left at 12. They were doing half day. So getting half pay for half day. Come on now.
Yeah,
it's fair.
of course. So that's a fair deal. Yeah.
It's a fair deal.
Yeah.
So they could also go and do whatever or work wherever else that they chose or found. Some schools, like, I was talking about collaboration. Some schools need to collaborate in terms of staff exchange.
Okay.
So if he works for me, I know he's working for me in the morning, then he's probably going to be working for the next school in the afternoon. And then in the evenings, if he or she still has capacity, can still do 1 or 2 home visits. And then, like I said again, if you reduce the number of school days and you reduce salary, they will know that at least they have 1 or 2 full days to go and work wherever else that they can find.
Sure.
Fair deal. But when you overload me and you're asking me to put in as much, in fact, double the number of hours, and then you are cutting my salary, I will take a hike. I will take a hike. But if you want me to stay with you, then you must show to me that you care about me, you care about my welfare, I mean, encourage them right now. Go and take a test and keep safe. Don't go collecting food where there are so many people touching each other. I will not have any of my staff do that. Rather, I will package something for them myself and make sure that they are okay during this time now. Or partner with ARC projects and all these other religious groups that are giving out food and say, can I have that of my staff, please? And I will send only one staff. Make sure you cover up properly. Protect yourself properly. Go and get it at a time where there are less number of people. Because I see all the pictures and you see people touching each other and I'm like, are we serious? This thing is deadly. And we are talking about social distancing, and yet we are not doing it in Nigeria. It's so sad.
Very sad.
It's so sad.
Sad.
So those are some of the ideas I have. I hope I've answered your question, Femi.
Hello?
Hello, is it still there?
Hello? Okay, yeah, you've answered a lot, Dr. Mena. Thank you so much for the privilege to have you on this platform.
And someone wanted to talk about homeschooling. I would really want us to, explore that. Yes.
Okay.
I think it's Mr. Akin
Fenwa.
Yes, I think.
Mr. Damilola.
Yeah, Mr. Damilola.
Yeah, Akin Fenwa. Okay, you have 1 or 2 words on homeschooling. Mr. Akin Fenwa. Okay, Dr. Mena, can you say something about that?
Yeah, I think he's on now.
Okay, Mr. Damilola.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hello? Hello?
I can hear him.
Oh, okay, I can't hear him. That's why I'm saying hello.
Okay.
Okay, continue. Let him continue.
Hello, Mr. Damilola. I think it's gone off again.
I think it's off again.
Yeah. Well, on homeschooling, the network, his network is not.
I think his network is getting bad here.
Okay.
So
that's a major challenge.
This is one of the challenges. This is one of the challenges we have too.
That is what we need to put. We need to write more about this challenge of low bandwidth.
Exactly.
Low bandwidth. It's so ridiculous. They are charging so much and providing very little or nothing.
Exactly, and the interesting thing is that when it gets into the afternoons, the network, the service drops. So I don't even know what it is. I don't know why it should be so. It's network, and it's actually giving us
I can read some of his suggestions here. He says I have on the I don't know. Can you see the charts? Can you read his charts? He says here that I have been challenging our school owners to begin to do research-based assignments and stop doing all this paperwork. We have challenges of electricity in Nigeria and internet, which we have talked about. Can't we get an electrical engineer to teach the senior students to build inverters? Schools themselves need to build their own inverters. Come to think of it. Personal homes are building inverters. Schools can build inverters. Schools can build inverters. And those inverters is just getting the adequate capacity of batteries. So that's one of the things that they can do and learn and teach students to do it as well. I'm sure, in fact, there's so many science students out there that are doing wonderful things. If only we can leverage on them.